So I saw a reel this week that really made me think. And I think this is a topic that we've got to go over because the expectations in relationships sometimes don't line up with what's actually healthy. So in this video, there was this woman saying how much her husband does everything for her. He brings her water to bed, he brings her vitamins, he has her coffee ready for her before she gets out of bed in the morning. He always takes care of filling up the gas tank. He's doing all of this really incredible, really good stuff. And at first glance, you think, oh, yeah, that's exactly how it should be. This person who's just really loving on their partner. But not if you look underneath the surface. There is some other issues going on. And I want to explore that so you don't get caught in this trap, so you understand why you do the things you do and why your partner does the things they do before it's too late, before it causes absolute rupture. If you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I am a certified master hypnotist and a relationship attachment style coach. So, what I do with my clients is we go all the way back on a subconscious level and we reframe that programming that formed their attachment style when they were forming their subconscious programming. And we reframe it so you have a new operating system moving forward and couple that with nervous system regulation and all kinds of stuff. So, if you'd like to learn more about that, you can always check out the link in the description below where you can set up a completely complimentary consultation call so you and I can chat. And I can make my very best recommendation to either do a custom personalized plan, if that's a good fit, or the Secure Self Blueprint. That's my newest plan, my newest program. It's for both women and men, and it's for if you are recovering from a ruptured relationship, a divorce, a dismissive avoidant discard, heartbreak, a long-term relationship. It's when you're feeling anxious and you need to be able to move through this, get over this, and get back to a sense of self. That's the program for you if that's the case. Okay, so let's dive into this concept of this very, very attentive husband. We're going to use that dynamic because this is sort of what I saw in this video, okay? It can go both ways. But I see this very common, and I see that comment of the husband that's like the golden retriever, right? He does all the things. He checks all the boxes because he's just giving and attending to and supporting and all these things. And the problem with this is it feels really good in the beginning, but give that couple 10 or 15 years, and it's going to be a totally different dynamic. And here's why. Most of the time, when that's present in a relationship, it's not present out of learning how to center their partner's needs in a way that allows them to grow in their empathy, to experience their partner's life experience. It's not a free gift. What it actually is it's a transactional action. So when there's transactional behavior in a relationship, you are subconsciously thinking, okay, if I do this, X, Y, and Z, I'll get A, B, and C. Do this, make her happy. Do this, get what I want. And so it's not a free gift. There is a silent expectation for what they're going to get from you if they treat you this way. And after 10 or more years, that expectation has never been said out loud, but because it was there is so much resentment under the surface because they think in their brain, well, I have always done XYZ. I have always done this and always done that. And she has never done this and never done that. And I've done all these things and I still don't get what I want. The problem is they've never given their spouse the opportunity to rise to the occasion of knowing and understanding what they want because they haven't actually communicated their feelings or their needs in real time. They haven't created a connection that has a lot of depth, and they've just been trying to behave their way into getting what they want. So princess treatment is typically what happens when, let's say, this man grew up in a home where he did not have his needs met regularly. His emotions were not met with curiosity and patience. No one held space for his big feelings. He was pushed aside or cast aside or treated like he was a bit of a burden. And being the good boy was his way of getting his needs met. It's how he kept his parents engaged or giving him the kudos or whatever. And so he's dialed into thinking that his behavior has to be performative or he's going to not have the love that he wants. And the resentment that comes from that will ruin a relationship. And the shocking part about that is that the person who's receiving that princess treatment, they 100% believe that their partner is doing it because they want to, doing it because they love them so much. Because if they were doing it, they would be doing it for those reasons because they want to. They don't even realize for a moment that their partner maybe doesn't actually want to do this. They say they do, they're acting like they do, their actions are lining up with what they say, so they must want it. But that partner who's behaving this way and overgiving is not even slowing down long enough to get to the heart of what's going on. They don't even know in the moment that they're doing this. It's subconscious programming. Now, you've heard me say it a million times, but the subconscious brain is running over 95% of everything you think, feel, and do. It's in control. But you don't have access to it very easily after the age of 7. So what do we do if it's running the show and we don't have access to it? Well, that's where hypnosis comes in. It's the way that we get into the subconscious mind. And so that's an important key component to remember. They don't really have this awareness. They just eventually have awareness of the building resentment that's growing underneath the surface. And there's sort of two ways that this plays out. So this kind of partner goes one of two ways. The most, I would say, shocking result is when this people pleaser doer that treats their spouse this way, that's building the resentment, is conflict avoidant. So if they're conflict avoidant, then they are never going to tell their partner when they're frustrated, when they need something. They're going to ignore it, and they're going to get to a point where they burn it all down. They do something big and huge and explosive to make their partner leave them because subconsciously it's their only escape route. And here's the deal about our subconscious mind. It's always trying to solve problems for us, okay? So I had a colleague one time that had a client that was literally losing his eyesight, a high school student. And he'd been to all the specialists, all the people, like no one knew why he was losing his eyesight. But it turns out when he did some hypnotherapy, he's adopted. And in the process of going to school, they gave him an assignment to do all his family history and family tree and present it to the class. But he was deeply embarrassed about being adopted. And so in that moment, he started freaking out. He didn't want to present this to the class. He didn't want to do it. And he's ruminating and he's stressing. And so our subconscious goes to work thinking, well, how can I make this better? How can I fix the situation? And the solution was take away his sight. He won't be able to see the assignment. He won't have to do it. That doesn't make a lot of conscious sense to us. But in your subconscious mind, it doesn't really know. Like it's just trying to find a way to solve a problem without your awareness. And this same thing happens. So I'll tell you the end of his story just so you want to know. In that session, he was able to realize that, to reframe his beliefs around the embarrassment and the shame of being adopted, came to terms with it, accepted it. His eyesight literally came back. I know it sounds crazy. But here's what's happening when you've got this partner who's checking all the boxes, doing all the things, and building this silent resentment. Eventually, they cheat. They ask for a divorce out of nowhere. Whatever they do at the end to burn it all down, it feels like the rug gets pulled out from their partner, and their partner is left totally bewildered. Like, what happened? What do you mean? What? I thought you worshiped the ground I walk on. I thought you were my best friend. I thought we were okay. They're totally shocked. And it's because this buildup and the fact that very often we are detached from our own feelings and emotions, especially especially boys. And they don't know how to manage the feelings that are coming up, and they don't know how to interpret them anymore. And so they just find a way to create an escape hatch, anything to make the other person leave them because they aren't going to express their own feelings and needs. Now, the other way this plays out, same scenario, same sort of over-giving princess treatment, but this person's a little more not just conflict avoidant, which they are, but they are also just very dismissive avoidant. And while they might avoid conflict from time to time, whenever their ego is damaged, whenever a criticism or a suggestion or a correction comes their way, they're very sensitive to that because they have a lot of hidden shame. And so in that moment, they lash out, they get passive aggressive, they criticize, and they project back pain onto their partner. And so they're still doing all the things. They're still filling up the gas tank and doing all the things, but that partner has a little more awareness earlier on, where if this is the man that's sort of lashing out, but also having this very like princess treatment behavior, his spouse is going to realize earlier something's off. Something's not right. This doesn't feel good. Like he doesn't actually act like he loves me whenever he's upset. I feel really hurt. I feel put down. I feel betrayed. And they start shutting down and they start pulling away and they stop trying to create connection and they just take steps further and further back for self-protection until it all burns down. So in that case, there's a little more awareness that something's not right. And it's a little confusing because their actions are showing up one way and their personal behavior, like the words and the criticism and the passive aggressive, is showing up a different way. That doesn't typically happen with just the conflict avoidant. They stay hidden. They tell you what you want to hear. But even in that case, the spouse typically feels some kind of off. Like, okay, I really appreciate they do all this. Maybe I don't know. I just don't feel that close. I don't feel that connected because they're not really letting their spouse in. They're not going deep with them. They're not being honest. They're not being honest with themselves and they're not being honest with their partner. So let's talk about when princess treatment is good, is healthy. If it's good and it's healthy, then it's going to show up in a very specific way. It's going to show up with the goal not being transactional of I give and I get. The goal is this is a free gift. I want to nurture and take care of you. It's typically in a scenario that's very mutual, that has a partner who also wants to nurture and take care of their spouse. There's a mutuality there. And it's also showing up from a place of empathy. So this is when the partner's going, I know my partner had a really rough day. I know they had a lot going on. I want to make sure they feel cared for. I'm going to take care of dinner and do this other thing. And it's coming from a different place internally. But the one piece that cannot be absent if it's going to be done in a healthy way is that both people have got to have enough awareness about what's going on inside of themselves to communicate in a healthy way. Instead of being passive aggressive, instead of saying something rude to shut the other person down, they're going to say, I had a rough day. I really need some time on my own. Do you mind if we connect, after a couple hours? They're going to communicate their need. They're going to ask for the space. Or they're going to say, I know you really want to talk right now, but I know that I'm not in a good space for that. So I just need to ask for a pause because I'm feeling a little flooded. I'm feeling a little frustrated or overwhelmed. So can we circle back to it tonight at 7? Can we circle back to it tomorrow? They're going to actually share their feelings and their needs, set a new time to touch base. They're not just going to think, well, I just have to shut up and do this because this person wants it. And my role is to be this golden retriever that just says and does everything that they want. That's not healthy. Healthy is when both people are willing and able to understand what's going on underneath the surface and communicate it to the other person, ask for their needs to be met without manipulation, without guilt, without shame, without tearing the other person down. In that scenario, this treatment is great because it's mutual, because both people are doing it. Both people are truly givers. They're not just over functioning and keeping their humanity hidden, because that's what we're doing. If we're performative, we are hiding our actual needs. We are hiding the fact that we are imperfect. We are hiding that we have flaws and that we're human and that some days we don't function well and some days we function better. We're trying to create a facade, and facades never last. They all come crumbling down. The mask gets too heavy, and this is when a divorce happens and you never saw it coming. And your friends never saw it coming. And everyone who knew you never saw it coming because all they saw was the facade. So don't fall for that in the dating world. And all these people that are, really young saying this, I'm like, okay, I get it why you want this kind of loving behavior, but you might end up in a situation that shocks the hell out of you 10 years down the road, because that behavior by itself, without it being done mutually and with the right kind of communication, which requires you to look at yourself, be self-reflective, be self-aware, and step into empathy. If those things aren't there, it's going to all come crashing down. And this is all subconscious. These are the programs that get patterned into us. So it's kind of like a parrot, right? A parrot listens to someone say the same thing over and over and over, and then they start repeating the words. They don't even know what the words mean, but they're repeating them. It's the same thing when we're programming our subconscious mind. It's coming in, we're making assumptions and meanings about certain things that really we don't have any discernment about. We're too young. And then that record plays in the background and it starts repeating in all the patterns in our life, in our relationships. And so if you want to stop the repeating, if you want to stop the programming, you've got to get specific about it being subconscious reprogramming. Otherwise, you're just talking about it, you're using your conscious mind, and you're not getting into the subconscious, which is exactly what runs the show. So if you'd like some help with that, I would love to help you get some clarity, and I would love to really give you a full recommendation based on your own history, your own complex trauma, your own upbringing, and your relationship situations, because you don't have to continue like this. Just because this is what you've always done isn't what you always have to do. And just because this is what someone tells you to look for in a partner, you need to have the bigger picture so that you actually know what you're getting into. I hope this was helpful. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.